Okay, hi guys! Resistance Chicks, January 12th, 2017. We have a very hot topic, which is...
vaccines.
Yay!
Alright, so Trump made headlines today, meeting with Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Not JFK's son. He died.
And let's hear what he has to say. Let's just take it from straight from the horse's mouth.
President-elect Trump was very thoughtful on the issue. He asked me to chair a commission on vaccine safety.
Vaccine safety.
Yeah.
Vaccine safety.
And scientific integrity. To make sure that we have scientific integrity in the vaccine process for efficacy and safety of vaccines. President-elect Trump has some doubts about the current vaccine policies, and he has questions about it. He says his opinion doesn't matter, but the science does matter, and we ought to be reading the science, and we ought to be debating the science, and that everybody ought to be able to be assured that the vaccines that we have, he's very pro-vaccine, as am I, but that they are as safe as they possibly can be.
You guys talked about you taking any type of an official role in the transition or in the administration?
Chair a commission on vaccine safety and scientific integrity.
So here's the thing. If it's hard to understand him, he has a little bit of a disability, but that's okay. He's a super smart guy. All Trump is doing is asking him to assess the vaccine safety so that people can be assured that the vaccines that they are giving their children are safe. There is nothing wrong with that.
Earlier, I think in 2005, he made a tweet that said, you see a 2-year-old, he's just fine. He gets a vaccine and then suddenly he has autism. Now, I want to play this. I'm going to skip around just a little bit, kind of give you an idea of what it is.
She had over 9 inoculations that day. And that was the day that we lost her. And after that shot, he was a completely different boy.
When she woke up, she was a different child.
So I took my very healthy 3-year-old to her 3-year-old checkup.
At her 12th month well baby visit, she was vaccinated.
When Caroline had her 18-month well baby visit, she had her shots that day. We went to every well baby checkup at 9 months. He got 9 doses of different vaccine.
Right before going into taking that shot, he was a typical boy, 18-year-old month. He would be playful. When someone would call his name, he would turn, he would say, his name. He used to know how old was he. And that night, she started screaming, and it was a different cry than before.
She had a reaction that afternoon at home that was severe. She spiked a very high fever. She had convulsions. She screamed uncontrollably. She could not be consoled.
She came home, was basically violently ill right from the start. She was vomiting, she had diarrhea, she was completely lethargic, and I had never seen her sick or have a fever, so it was very alarming.
Within the hour, he started seizing, and I knew immediately what it was.
And after that shot, he was a completely different boy. He didn't say words anymore. He did not know his name anymore. I would ask him, how old are you? And he didn't know anymore. After almost 3.5 weeks of a fever, a runny nose, cough, hard trouble breathing, we noticed she wasn't talking. She started to get frustrated and seemed confused. And then there would be zombie-like moments where she would just stare out the window, and you could yell her name as loud as you can, and she wasn't even going to respond.
Through the next 6 months, he had to wear a helmet because he would hurt himself.
That's
he would
over
bang
and
his head
over
against
again.
walls. He liked to play in his diaper.
They get a vaccine and they start banging their
He's
heads on the
definitely
wall.
not speaking. He wasn't crawling. He wasn't walking.
The old words that he used to have, they were gone. So every time he would request food and anything he wanted, he would just pull us and just point out the things.
When she woke up, she was a different child. It was very clear that there was brain damage involved.
I did take him to the doctor and let him know that he wasn't saying the words he had to be saying, and he said it was normal.
He started seizing within the next couple hours, and
and the doctors told us it was a coincidence, that it just kind of happens sometimes, but it's nothing to worry about.
What alarmed me the most was the reaction the doctor had. It was an immediate defense of vaccines.
His reaction was, well, that's what happens when you get a lot of shots. It was just, that was normal. That was okay.
She is able to tell us when she's hungry. She can tell us if she has to go to the bathroom, but those things didn't come easily.
After the age 3, receiving those shots, she definitely became just kind of a hostile child. She just was never really comfortable in her own skin.
And just by looking up the definition of autism, I knew he had it because everything that was being described, it was what he was doing. So after that, I took him into an evaluation and he got the actual diagnosis. I mean, they can call it autism, but it was a clear indication of when it started, how it happened.
It's taken several years, but she's actually now diagnosed with sensory processing disorder.
I am literally sick to my stomach. And what makes me so angry, and this is what I have to hit right off the bat, is the people that are attacking John F. Kennedy Jr. and Donald Trump and other people that just want to say, let's bring this to the table and discuss it and research it, and then the other people come in.
We've done the research, we've done the research.
Shut it down every single time. We can't discuss it, we can't talk about it, we can't research it because vaccines are safe and they don't cause autism. And they say it over and over and over again, and what it does is it takes all of those loving mothers and calls them liars. That they were wrong when they saw that they had a perfectly beautiful, normal, healthy, loving, producing child, and then it went to nothing. Don't you tell me that it wasn't the vaccines, and don't you tell me we can't go at it and at least discuss the possibility that it was the vaccination. You guys get so angry and so fervent, and a lot of you are on the right side, are Republicans. Tell me you can't look at those faces and call those women truth. They're telling the truth. You guys, you have to look at things for the way they are and stop defending Big Pharma.
It boggles my mind. They're so afraid. They've been so brainwashed. You've been brainwashed really well, which is why we can't get anything done in this country, because that's why resistance chicks, we're not on the right.
And we're not on the left. We lean on the word of God and truth. It doesn't matter if this is a right issue or a left issue. There is only one right, and that's God's right.
You need to watch the movie Vaxxed.
You have to watch the movie Vaxxed.
You don't get to come to the table at all
with
without
any
watching
discussion.
That.
I don't care if you're a nurse. I don't care if you're a doctor. I don't care. You need to talk to the moms and the dads that have seen their children rapidly decline. Then come to the table.
When you watch the movie Vaxxed, you have to watch it. Don't comment on here until you see that movie. There's a mother. She's an African American mother. She took her twins in for their vaccinations.
Twins.
It was a boy and a girl, and they accidentally gave the boy
both
2
shots.
MMR vaccines. He immediately started to have a huge reaction. She told the nurse, "Oh my gosh, he's having a vaccine reaction." And the nurse said, no, it's impossible. No, it's impossible. It's impossible. It's impossible.
Now, I know a lot of you are going to start saying right off the bat, well, it's only because he had 2. If you're putting anything in your child where 2 doses of it are going to cause autism for the rest of their life, that needs to be researched and looked at.
She swooped up her daughter.
The girl didn't get the vaccine.
Ran out the building. They never finished the vaccines. She has a teenage boy who has severe autism sensory issues.
And the girl is fine.
So the scientists, there are so much, you want to say autism, the link has been debunked. That's not true.
It's absolutely not truth.
Over and over again. And the vaccine court pays out billions every year for vaccine damage. And you know what?
They keep it under the table.
Maybe we don't call it autism. Maybe we take the word autism off the table. As somebody said, vaccine induced brain damage. I think that's probably a better, and that's why so many kids, that's why autism has been on the rise. And by they said, I don't know when, but in the next 20 years, a huge number, it'll be a huge percentage, I can't remember off the top of my head, of the population will be diagnosed with autism.
I have a lot of friends that are scared to have more children because they're deathly afraid that their children will develop autism because the numbers are rising so rapidly.
And they say it's because they're just diagnosing it more. No,
they're not just diagnosing it more.
it's you guys
Look at
we
the
have
numbers.
to look around us. When we were in school, there might have been a couple mentally disabled kids in the school. But other than that, everybody else was normal. Now you go into school and it's everywhere. All these kids are acting out. There are so many kids with so many. They're acting out because their brains are literally hurting.
And let me tell you something. I had a friend. We have an Amish friend of ours. We have an entire Amish family that's friends of ours. They do not vaccinate their children.
The Amish don't vaccinate. They don't have measles, mumps, rubella.
They are not only do they not
cough,
have the issues that these
polio.
vaccines are supposed to prevent, but they also don't have autism at the rates that are in what is called the English world. I wrote my pen pal Tashina. She's 23 years old. And I asked her, because we have a friend of ours that has children that has autism, and she said, could you ask the Amish if they have autism amongst them? And I asked Tashina, and she said, I've never met anyone in the Amish community that has autism. That's not to say that there aren't any, but I can guarantee you that if you were to look at the percentages of the Amish children that have autism versus the English, is what we're called to them, that have English, that have autism, the numbers would be off of the charts.
So we also want to cover here, before anybody goes off the rail, you need to really go back and look at how many vaccines were administered.
Like when
now,
we were children.
Off the top of my head, I just looked at a chart. In 1954, my mom's generation, they were given seven different shots before the age of 6. Okay, 1974 to 83, I believe it was 11. In 83, I believe it was 13. And now in 2013, it's 36.
And they're hoping to raise that number.
Exactly. In the beginning, they didn't make a lot of money on vaccines because pharmaceutical companies didn't have the bloodthirsty greed. Now, if you get your vaccine on the schedule, you are guaranteed millions of dollars and a piece of the $1 billion pie. Now, look at this chart here. The United States gives children most vaccines and has worst under 5 mortality rate / high infant mortality rates. Now, look at this.
This is the United States.
The United States gives 8 more vaccines
than Canada.
9 more vaccines than Australia, 12 more vaccines than Ireland, and you go all the way down to Iceland. Iceland only gets 11 vaccines, and so does Sweden and Japan and Israel. And Finland and Denmark are only 12. And
so this red line here is the infant under 5 mortality rates per 1,000 children.
So the United States has more children dying under 5 than any other country.
So the red line, the green line, there's some spikes for infant mortality rate. That could be caused by various different things. But the actual under 5, this is the United States. I'm going to run my finger. Look at those other lines right there.
But look at Japan. Japan has only 11, and it's got one of the lowest under 5 mortality rates and the lowest infant mortality rate. So children and people aren't dying from you're supposed to. Most people are worried about polio, childhood disease, and measles, and whooping cough.
Right.
Those are the 3. I mean, why are we giving babies hepatitis B shots? I don't think I even have one.
Right.
Okay. We don't need to be giving babies hepatitis B shots. I mean, if you go to look at what's the one they've been giving teenage girls for the
Gardasil.
The Gardasil, and I have a friend who has a friend whose daughter died. I mean, after getting it. I mean, there's a whole group of girls the teenage girls have been able to speak up. Children can't speak out.
And here's the thing, guys. This science has not been able to be researched over time, and yet this schedule is supposed to be for every single child in America.
Billions and billions of dollars. So why is it that we need 36 and Iceland needs 11, and it's not okay to even talk about it?
It's not, and that's where Lee and I want to go. You obviously can tell where we're at on this subject, how we feel about it, but that's not the issue that we're bringing to you. We're bringing to you the fact that every time you want to bring a discussion to the table about the possibility that vaccines are causing these issues in children, when they clearly are, it is so clear that they are, you get shut down and you can't talk about it. We have friends on Facebook that are nurses and doctors, and they just get so angry about these issues, like they're so righteous. But guess what, guys? I'm sorry. You have been fed a load of bull by your pharmaceutical teachers, because the whole medical industry is, the bill is footed by these pharmaceutical industries.
I want to show you another
Your information
chart.
is biased.
This is charts. You can't deny facts. All right. When you look at a guy I should have showed you this, a cute little, cool little video where this guy shows this trend of as people's wealth went up.
Keep talking.
As people's wealth went up and sanitation went up, then the life expectancy went from like 30 or 40 years old in some cases, all the way up to 75. And it goes along these lines, and if you follow this is the England and Wales this whooping cough mortality rates. This is a very interesting chart, and Michelle, when you look at this, you'll see that the whooping cough vaccine was created in 1952, but it had already been
On a decline.
So
Before the vaccine was even created.
Exactly.
And we've done that. I've done that research before in the past after watching different documentaries and
This
things like
is
that.
the measles mortality rate.
And if you can't see, this is where we start.
in
This-
1838,
lower.
and then in 1968 was when the measles vaccine was created.
So look at this mass decline till 1968.
and
Then it gets
actually,
created.
what is even worse is if when you study the smallpox vaccine, you find that when they started to give the vaccine, they would take the cowpox off of somebody and slit open their skin and put it in there.
Kind of gross.
The numbers are astronomical. It went from 5%, and then a few years later, 95% more. I think more people were getting smallpox because when they were doing this vaccine, people had it, so they were spreading it.
Yeah.
So they were spreading this vaccine amongst people who would never have gotten it before.
Right.
It was medical practice, harmful medical practice.
If you ever want some interesting reading, go to the John Adams letters to Abigail and
On taking the
smallpox. That's very
Some
interesting.
doctors, if you go to vaccinationcouncil.org, you'll see an article in which some doctors gave people with smallpox 2 large doses of raw apple cider vinegar because they didn't have it pasteurized in the morning and in the evening, and no one died. They all lived. So even little simple things like apple cider vinegar could treat some of these issues. So,
but Leah, apple cider vinegar isn't going to make you millions from a pharmaceutical monetary standpoint.
So, the same can be said of the polio. What they're not telling you with polio is that they re-diagnosed polio so that there are still children who need what you would call an iron lung on a ventilator. Mm-hmm. But they're not calling it polio, they're just calling it paralysis, which is what happened in India when thousands and thousands of children were given the polio vaccine, and all of a sudden they became paralyzed. And India actually sued Bill and Melinda Gates because it was their vaccine that caused these paralysis. And they're just not calling it polio. And so you can do a lot of things when you are the person at the top, and you can play with the numbers. And then the worst thing is you get the people in medical school, just like in public school, where we know that people have been brainwashed against our founding fathers in public school.
For sure.
They've been brainwashed to believe in the Federal Reserve. They've been brainwashed in all these things. And so, yes, you have the liberty-minded people, and most of us are saying, wait a minute.
Let's wake
These
up.
vaccines are not safe. And it may not be the vaccine itself.
It's a lot of times the carrier that
The
they're putting in
mercury
it.
and the aluminum. Just ask any dentist now. They aren't the mercury fillings.
Right.
You know.
And aluminum causes Alzheimer's.
Exactly. So I could go on, but that's my few thoughts. I don't want to go too long.
I know, sorry guys.
Leave some comments.
This is a hot topic.
but
and
watch the Vax movie first.
yes.
And let's get involved and let's talk about it. Let's open a discussion.
Because we're going to come back at you probably several times with this, because it is such a huge, and it really is a bipartisan issue.
Right.
It covers across the board, but for some reason, because you have the capitalists on one side, the Republicans, they want to hold on to big companies so badly. They defend them regardless. And the fact that Donald Trump, who is big capitalist, is saying, wait a minute.
Out in his speech, and I should
gotta say something to you guys.
Piece of it, he came out that he's going to attack Big Pharma. And you know, it used to be that when we learned about Mary Claire and all the different original doctors throughout history, when you watch Dr. Quinn or something, these people, they like wanted to help people for like a chicken. And for anybody who says that we won't come out with new medical advances unless there's a monetary incentive, lives in a cold, dark room.
It used to be that being a doctor was kind of like being a minister.
Exactly.
Where
That's
you
exactly
did
what
it because
was.
you really wanted to help people
and you love people.
and not to make money. No minister should used to enter the field
The Hippocratic
for money.
Oath is do no harm. When you watch Dr. Quinn and you see the guy come in who starts his fancy medical thing and somebody breaks his arm and they can't afford to pay for a cast or something.
Right.
But now we have, well, that's okay. It's okay for the big guy to charge a bunch of money. We just want to have everybody in the town have the town have universal health care.
But
so
Leah,
that we can pay the guy to drive the Maserati.
Here's the thing, guys. I need to, because we need to cut this short, but I really want to hammer this because I know a lot of you are going to have a lot of questions about this. What about the fact that these MRI type things cost so much money? I have to bring it back to this, you guys. Big Pharma creates sickness in our society so that we need them for these medical advances. They're putting it in the water, they're putting it in the food, they're putting it in our clothing with chemicals, and they're making us sick and ill so that we need these $1 million machines just to stay alive. We're all like daggum Darth Vader. Don't give in to the dark side. All right, Leah Michelle, where it's not a conspiracy theory, if it's the truth. Follow us on Twitter, Resistance Chicks without the K, and subscribe. We love subscribers. Leave comments. We love you guys.
Ding, ding, ding.
I was cold all alone, no place for home every day, so afraid, but you called my name.